confused, everyone.
Let's get dangerous.
This is so cool.
I know.
It feels so right.
Jake silly.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Nice try, Moonman. Pretending not to know. Earth's greatest mastermind.
You just made the list.
I thought you said that was a myth.
Just because it's a myth doesn't mean it's not true.
If you all blindly follow my plan, we may have a chance.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
Game on, you ducks. You know what this one is. It's the long form recorded earlier in the week with Ian Hartitz and Pat Mayo on his network. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed to Pat Mayo and all his great stuff. And this is before some of the injuries like Lamar Jackson missing practice on Thursday, which you know I'll be back on Friday for the short form of all the injuries notes that you need heading into week 14 of the fantasy football season. So enjoy.
The week 14 rankings, start, sit, advice, injuries, and if you have questions, dump them in the chat right now as long as you're a sub to Mayo Media Network. So please go do that and smash the like. While you're here, Jake Seeley on the line with me from theathletic.com. Additionally, from fantasylife.com, Ian Hartitz, whose rankings we are using today. But Jake, I wanted to throw it to you first. Do you allow teams in your fantasy league to make moves after the playoffs have started if they are not in the playoffs?
Not once the playoffs have started. No, not unless it's a keeper league. But outside of that, if it's a regular redraft once the playoffs, then you're done. If Ian and I were talking about with you before the show started, if there is before the playoffs and there is a last place penalty or a consolation bracket or even a second waiver run where you want to keep those teams active to try and play spoiler, I'm okay with that. But yeah, with you, I know you shut them off in your league. Once the playoffs start, non-playoff teams, you're done.
Yeah, Ian, we don't do a consolation bracket or anything like that. Our punishment is last place pays, I think, 5 times the entry fee. So you can grind all the way until the playoffs. And then once the playoffs start, you're not in it. Your team is locked.
Yeah, I mean, if you have anything to play for, then by all means, go ahead and keep trying to play for that. But yeah, if you are dead in the water, just chill out. But I do appreciate you just locking it, Pat, because weird stuff is going to happen out there. Good commissioner job by you, my friend.
Well, we had probably, 10, 12 years ago at this point, we had one guy try to be really vindictive against one of our other friends and just started picking up all the replacements that he had. So I think it was his kicker was out on one of like the last games. So the other guy just went and picked up all of the other kickers. We were like, he wasn't like dead last. We were like, all right, man, come on.
Well, I mean, that's what you get for playing with kickers, honestly.
But that was back then.
Also true.
That's ages ago. But yeah, as soon as the playoffs start, we lock. But you can do whatever you want up until then. And I have no problems with people not wanting to do it that way. Or like Ian said, if there's something to play for at the bottom, whether it be a punishment or whatever it might be, then yeah, I could see that. But we lock our last place, like regular season last place. That's it.
Yeah. Like, well, that's the thing is last place punishment. You're already last place when the playoffs start. There's nothing after that. You're already last place.
Oh, the last place punishment isn't like a consolation bracket, and whoever loses that loses.
So you have to be the last place and then lose last place again.
Yeah, that's how my home league does it. I think it's fair. And honestly, you really need to have it. This is my first year in our home league that we actually haven't gone through with like a big time last place punishment. In the last couple of weeks, we've had guys trading, draft picks and just swapping like amazing players from dead in the water teams to some of the big contenders. So it adds a whole new wrinkle to it. I don't know exactly how I feel about it. We'll find out in a few weeks if I win the league or not. But I do think having that last place punishment or some sort of consolation prize, whether it be extra fab or a better draft pick next year, like it does help keep the entire league more accountable.
My question to you, Ian, to jump in, Pat. Well, so like we're talking home leagues. Mine's home league auction keeper with 5 keepers. So the trade deadline ends up being nuts. It's actually hella fun. We probably had 7 trades in the past week because the trade deadline was last night. But does the consolation bracket winner end up being last place? Like, is it the one where the low score advances, or is it the consolation? Like, how do you work your consolation bracket? Because I've seen it work like 5 different ways.
It's just the losers play the losers, and then whoever loses the loser matchup ends up.
Yeah, so the loser is the one that advances. So it's the loser of losers in the consolation bracket is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's my head's in a pretzel thinking about it, but I think we're on the same page.
You understood what I was asking, Pat, right?
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but I think what Ian's saying is that you just run a normal consolation bracket, and whoever loses just goes to the bottom.
Yes.
It's not like a reverse bracket for losers.
Okay. Well, I've seen it done that way. That's why I was asking.
All right, let's try to make sure that you're not in last. Let's get to the running back rankings for week number 14.
That's the point.
You can click the link in the description to get all of Ian's rankings. Jake's come out tonight. The link is down there as well. Mine will be sent directly to you via the free Mayo Media newsletter. That is on Wednesday afternoon after I get the first injury report. Jahmyr Gibbs comes in at number 1 for Ian and a half-point PPR this week. JT, Bijan, Achane, James Cook III. That is your top 5. Jacobs, Javonte, Bucky, back up to number 8 against New Orleans this week. Chase Brown, Kyron Williams. That's number 10. Saquon, Derrick Henry, Breece Hall, Travis Etienne Jr., Quinshon Judkins at number 15. Genty, Vidal, Harvey, Warren, Swift, and then Monangai 21 and 20. Ian, we ranked Amarion Hampton last week. He never got activated off injured reserve, but he did practice in a limited capacity most of the week. I actually expect him to be back this week. That would be my hunch. If he ends up playing against the Eagles, albeit on Monday night, we don't know if Justin Herbert's playing in that game or not. How would that affect these running backs?
I think I'd slide Hampton right into that similar range as Vidal, RB17, RB19 spot. We did actually hear Greg Roman asked about this, last week, and he said that he was envisioning using a 1-2 punch. And that was before Vidal had yet another really good game out there. So remember, guys, to start the season, we did not have the Hampton usage we really wanted until Najee had the unfortunate season-ending Achilles injury. So maybe in 2 weeks, we will see Hampton back in that 80% plus snap role, but it is a different time now. I do think they have more trust in Vidal than they did during, weeks 3 and 4 when we saw Hampton doing good things. So I'm going to be a little bit hesitant. And as you mentioned as well with Justin Herbert and that banged up offensive line might not be the best scoring environment. So RB 17 or so range, I'm sure he'll still be in far more starting lineups than not, but a little bit worried about the high end volume now.
Jake?
I completely agree. And part about it too is the Eagles aren't the best matchup, but they went super run. The first time they've gone almost 70% run. It was actually their highest run rate of the season. Now, part of that was game script. Part of that was probably Justin Herbert's injury, but it was only the second time this year where they topped 60% rushing. The other time was that blowout of the Vikings. So all that being said, I think part of it is also what Ian said in there is the offensive line, is that the offensive line is more capable in the run game department at this point than it is in pass blocking. So that's a concern going forward. And well, who cares? Because Greg Roman loves to do that anyway. So I could see Hampton kind of sliding this spot. I wouldn't put him in front of people like Genty and Judkins with their workloads, but right about where Vidal is. And then Vidal would probably, for me, fall into like that Gainwell range where he still probably gets more work than we would expect it, as Ian brought up. Hampton was getting that bell cow work, but he wasn't getting that bell cow work to start the season. So I think there's a lot of risk. And then to your second part of that question, if it is no Herbert, I mean, Hampton's kind of down by Swift. I would actually play Swift over Hampton at that point, and Vidal would fall. I know we're not talking the wide receivers. I mean, you're downgrading the entire dang offense with Trey Lance. And I mean, a significant downgrade if it's Trey Lance.
Yeah, I would be on the same page as you with that. The other injuries that we're dealing with right now, Aaron Jones left that game against the Seahawks with a shoulder injury. They're calling him day-to-day, so he might be able to play. Jordan Mason was banged up, too. He ended up coming back in, and then we didn't see him the rest of the game. He came in for one 24-yard run to ruin my under, Jake, and then he left the game again. That was just fantastic. Dylan Sampson left the Browns game with a calf injury. He's probably not going to play, so we'll get more Judkins, more Jerome Ford. Hampton probably going to be back. Kamara, we don't know yet, but he's probably out, if that was my guess. Trey Benson and DeMercado, Jake, are two that DeMercado got ruled out pretty early last week. Benson's been on the comeback trail now for weeks, yet we still haven't seen him play. What percentage chance do you think he has of going here? Because Bam Knight's been pretty good.
Well, have we seen Benson actually on this comeback trail? Like, I don't know where this trail is because I don't know what the hell is going on. I mean, at this point, it kind of feels like the Bucky Irving route. And isn't this his last week? Or does he have one more week after this to be? I thought this was his last week because he's been practicing for 2 now. But anyway, I would assume at this point, it's like there was rumblings, at least from some beat reporters, that says it sounded like there was a chance. When you start saying there's a chance he could return, it kind of sounds like the next week we should be expecting him. So I would say if this is his last week, I might be incorrect on that. If it's not his last week, I would say it's 50-50. If it is his last week, I would say 80% good chance he's out there, because if they don't activate him, he's gone for the season. So if Benson is out there, I think there's enough risk with, like you said, Bam Knights look good. I agree. I actually think that was Bam Knight's best game. Like, he was pounding through some tackles and getting through. And he looked good in that game. So Benson kind of where you have Zonovan Knight and Bam Knight. And then I would say Bam Knight's still playable, similar to the Vidal situation, kind of in that Gainwell range where you could still, if it's a thin week, so you could probably get him in the flex.
I saw that some fantasy playoffs, Ian, are starting this week. Jared told me behind the glass that his are starting this week. He's like, yeah, I got a bunch of guys on bye week. This sucks.
Don't do that.
It does suck, man. And it's how it goes with some of these. I get it. Some of the bigger ones where you need to have like a multi-week tournament after you actually settle like your, kind of 12-person league. I get why they do it. But yeah, man, am I, just very sick and twisted 32-team league? I'm very happy the boys made it out of the wild card round, but we have the Patriots DST, and now we're just on bye, and we're kind of screwed in the divisional round. So
I was going to say, didn't you start the playoffs in week 8, Ian?
Pretty much, but no, man. So it does it's unfortunate with it, but that's one more reason to really be attentive to that for the quarterbacks in DST. So I wish we could just stop buys after Thanksgiving. I don't know, just kind of figure it out at this point, but is what it is.
We tried to figure this out on last week's spread show, like what the best idea for bye weeks would actually be. I want your guys' opinion on it, because Cuss was like, hey, everyone gets a bye in week 9 and they play the Pro Bowl, which is an insane idea. No. So let's not do that. I thought
surprising that came from Cuss.
Yeah. I feel like they could either they should package both divisions, like both East together, put them all on bye. Both South together, put them all on bye. Like it's a big bye week, but then you're done. You only have 4 bye weeks the entire season. Make it like 8, 9, 10, 11, and then be done with it.
I'm more with that, or the alternative for me. I was actually going to like mine for you, Pat, is similar. Is that 8 bye weeks of 4, one division at a time, go from weeks 5 through 12. You're done before Thanksgiving. But I actually like yours better because it is huge, and I don't know if you would get the networks to go with that which is the issue. But like having that would actually suck for us in fantasy. By the way, 8 teams on a bye, maybe starting we'd be starting Ian's players.
Yes, it'd be a lot of fun, Ian.
I'm down for that because again, I don't think teams that get an early week 4, week 5 bye feel good about that either. So the more we can condense and get all those kind of in the middle of the season, I feel like when buys are supposed to be ideally in the first place, man, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Question from the chat says, is Malik Davis the handcuff, Jake, for Javonte Williams? Is he worth stashing?
Yeah, at this point, because there was a chance Phil Maffa could come back and be the one, because it's obviously not Jaden Blue. It's obviously not any of the other options they tried to trot out there. It is Malik Davis, and, look good on a couple of those runs. I don't think he would be as good as Javonte, but yeah, he is the backup plan. It would kind of fall into the Vidal situation where like, hey, he is the next man up, so you have to go for it just in case. Like Devin Neal. We got a RB3 performance out of Devin Neal, and that's what I would probably expect from Malik Davis.
Ian?
Yeah, he is the cuff, and honestly, it's just a part of being in that offense. I mean, yeah, Devin Neal only gave us an RB3 performance, but he's also playing for the Saints. So if we did have, Malik Davis taking that Javonte role, could they elevate, Phil or Jaden Blue or one of these other guys, sign someone off the street? Sure, but I think Davis has made the most out of his opportunities. He's been on the Cowboys for a couple years now, so I think they relatively trust him. So, man, 15 touches in that offense. If Jake's getting 15 touches for the Cowboys, I'll find a spot for him in my top 24.
How do you feel about the Panthers' backfield moving forward? Do you think that Chuba is going to be the starter in the playoffs? They have horrible playoff matchups outside of next week when they play the Saints. I think you should just probably wait and see what happens in week 14. If you got to play one, you got to play one. But I wouldn't rely on any of these guys.
Yeah, man. I think if I had to try to rank them this week and everything, they'd probably be a little bit less than the Bears running back. So I have Swift and, Monungai as RB20 and RB21. So it's unfortunate. But that said, guys, you do look at the numbers between these two. And as much as Rico was dominating early on in the year, Chuba actually has been the more efficient rusher ever since they actually handed the job over to Rico before that Packers game. So obviously was playing through that calf injury. We've seen Chuba be a good running back for a few years as well. I don't think it's an egregious real life decision to be splitting this more down the middle. So I understand we can get all pissed off because the workload isn't going to our fantasy running back of choice. But from the Panthers' point of view, it makes sense for them to ride that hot hand, and it has been Chuba lately.
At the Saints, Jake, then home Tampa, home Seattle, at Tampa to end the year.
Yeah, it's not, as you mentioned, not a great schedule for them, but I think this kind of falls into it's the better Titans at this point. It's just now a split backfield. And part of it, I will say, is that Dowdle is not known to be as good of a pass blocker as Hubbard is, and you were facing the Rams, so you had that aspect already when you want to face somebody like the Rams, which probably goes into facing the Bucs with their defensive line. So that's part of it. And then Hubbard looked good in that game, and I think that's what Ian's saying is you got the hot hand approach. This is the Bears. This is earlier this year, the Seahawks. It's frustrating for us because we want, just give us one clear option, but there's a lot of backfields where we don't get that. So I think that going forward, if this was they were playing this week and not on a bye, I probably have them both right where Ian has kind of the Bears guys almost back to back in that kind of Kenneth Walker range, which by the way, I'm not as concerned. I know we're not we're answering other questions and not really picking apart Ian's ranks. I don't know. I guess my question to Ian is, are you worried about Kenneth Walker? Because I feel like those touches for Charbonnet was a lot of that game script and that they didn't really need Kenneth Walker at that point.
I mean, it's been a nice trend for him overall, really, ever since they got back from the bye. But at the same time, Jake, as we continue to see, they finally do get inside the 10 or 5 yard line. It's just Charbonnet back out there. So it's just such a weird role. Like, imagine how much probably more we would have been willing to draft Kenneth Walker, knowing how actually good the Seahawks offense has been this year. Just hasn't unfortunately worked out. We usually don't see goal line rules this extreme in the NFL, but Seattle has been willing to do it. So I will say, though, guys, Charbonnet this year now, like earlier in the year, we can make a much more compelling argument. Like, what are we doing? Walker, he's been better in every single, efficiency stat we can find. Charbonnet has been playing some better football over the past 6-7 weeks. He actually has, kind of missed tackles, forced numbers up there with Walker at this point. So Char playing a little bit better. It is frustrating. I hear you guys, but Walker, literally he has like 1 touchdown in 8 weeks, and it came in this fluky situation where they just needed to get a snap off before the 2-minute warning, and he happened to be on the field. So unfortunate, great running back, but yeah, man, Char's got to keep eating up those fancy friendly goal line touches.
One more question. If all the other running backs are injured or on bye and the waiver wire options are absolutely putrid, is Hampton worth waiting for if Jared Patterson is the backup option that you have for?
No, because Jared Patterson only that was a game script situation. Jared Patterson hasn't been getting much touches, anything close. So I want to be wait. What's the time of the Chargers? The Chargers are Monday night.
Monday night.
You got to be able to find. You got to be able to find something else than that. I'd play Michael Carter before waiting on Jared. Like, unless you're just like, hey, I need the most upside. Like, if Michael Carter getting me 6 points isn't going to help me win this week because I'm that far behind, then I could see it. But I feel like you got to be able to find something.
That's around where the line is, though. I was looking at it, and I think I probably would prefer to wait on Hampton or, suffer through the Jared Patterson experience if it meant playing a Titans running back, Jake. And they're only a few spots behind the Carter.
Why isn't I see like Woody Marks for you is ranked number 24. That guy hasn't done anything in a month.
It's true. He's been horrible. You look at any stat you want to with the guy, and he has been really bad, but he gets that sweet usage, Pat. He's getting 15 to 20 touches per game, and I would like to think that at some point those will translate to fantasy points. So, look, I mean, you can kind of see with the ranks, we have these guys where we just got to knock them down because they haven't done much with it. Woody Marks, and honestly, RJ Harvey, too. Some maybe I'm even giving a little bit too much benefit of the doubt with, just haven't been able to get much going. So, if you wanted to go ahead and just move him down a spot or two, that's fine. But I basically have Woody Marks, Aaron Jones, Bam Knight, and then Devin Neal. Like, those are the worst lead running backs basically in fantasy right now.
He has Woody Marks where Woody Marks is on a bye week. If every team was active, okay, push him down. But he's essentially been putting up 7 plus 8 points per game with that workload, which means you're barely an RB2, if not a top end RB3. So, like, you're not wrong, Pat, in the fact that he hasn't been doing a lot with it because he's not getting in the end zone. That's the biggest thing. But that's where he should be. He should be a fringe RB2-3 with that kind of workload. The good news, I will say, though, Ian, with the RJ Harvey part of it that you threw in there, interesting enough in that game this past week, all the goal line touches. Jaleel McLaughlin got a big fat 0. So maybe it's finally starting to happen, although he needed that touchdown in overtime to have a really good game.
Of note for Woody Marks, past 5 games, 2.7, 16.1, 6.1, 7.9, 7.7. I would play Chris Rodriguez over him.
I wouldn't. Chris Rodriguez didn't even have 50% of the touches.
That's fine. If they give him the ball near the goal line, he might score a touchdown. That's basically
okay, and he might get you 9 points. Whoop-de-doo.
Great. So that's more than Woody Marks gets me anyway.
By 1.5 points. I'm just going to take the workload.
I would take the guy getting the higher leverage touches. I'd play him. I'd play Kenneth Gainwell over him at this point. And if we're assuming that Aaron Jones is playing, I'd play Aaron Jones. And if there's no Trey Benson, I'd play Zonovan Knight over him too.
Well, yeah, he has, those right there with him. So
yeah, but I think that Mark should be down like 5 to 8 places here in the running back rankings.
No, if there's no Benson, and I guess the Rams, I'd play Woody. They're both terrible matchups. Give me somebody else altogether. Play a wide receiver in your flex instead. There you go.
There we go.
Should Corum be higher with the workload that he's getting?
No, because it's inconsistent. It's sometimes it's drives, sometimes it's certain like plans in the game, and like it's just most of the time it's still Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams is still fine. Kyron Williams is still. You talk about the value touches, they still turn to Kyron Williams 90% of the time at the goal line. So everybody just, I'm not saying you're doing this, Pat, but everybody's just so panicked about Kyron Williams every single year that's like, oh my God, Corum got a goal line touchdown. Like it's over. And I'm not saying that you're doing that, but it's like it's this perception that we're all waiting for the shoe to drop on Kyron Williams, and Kyron Williams is just Kyron Williams. This is just who he is. He's a fringe RB1, and he's going to remain a fringe RB1.
More questions about running backs in the chat. Do you see Isaiah Pacheco taking over the backup with the Chiefs, or the split continues? I think it's just kind of Kareem Hunt now for the foreseeable future. Awful matchup this week, though.
Kareem Hunt until he falters, basically. But he's got a very small window because, I mean, we've seen this before. As soon as Kareem Hunt has a bad game, they're going to give Pacheco the opportunities again.
Hunt's been good with his opportunities, to be fair. I mean, in the short yardage, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, I think he was like 25 or 28 or something going into last week. So pretty freaking efficient there. And no, he hasn't been the most explosive guy, but neither has Pacheco. I mean, it's just a situation where I think we got used to Pacheco being that lead dog, but all the familiarity over the years with Kareem Hunt has ultimately gotten him that. So Rashard Smith is out here finally averaging 3 yards per carry, guys. Took 13 weeks, but Rashard Smith got up there. So I think it's Hunt and then these other guys. So, 13 to 15 touches, can only move that sort of guy, too low in the ranks when you are playing for the Chiefs. But it is a tough matchup for sure.
This one is going to be injury dependent, obviously, but who is the best backup for Dinosaur Neal in case Kamara ends up playing? Is it Corum or Bam Knight? The answer is clearly Bam Knight unless Benson plays, right?
Yeah. That's really what it comes down to.
What's the question?
Just if Devin Neal doesn't play, or if Kamara plays and then you can't play Neal, would you be better off turning to Corum or Knight? It's Knight, but if Benson plays, it's probably Corum.
Yep, yes. Spot on.
All right, one more. I traded Henry, Stroud, and Franklin last week for Pierce, Javonte, and Dart. That's not even a question.
It's a trade you already made. As you always say, Pat, you either want the kudos or then we sound like jerks to say that we didn't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it. I hate your team. It sucks. I hope you miss playoffs. That's what you get for not asking a question. I don't really care about your fantasy team. Unless it's you asking questions for us to help it, not what you've already done. That really does not compute with me whatsoever. If Aaron Jones doesn't play, how far would you move up Jordan Mason against Washington? Like, would he leapfrog Jalen Warren and DeAndre Swift, or be just behind that?
I think that's probably where I put him because he was the clear lead back. We had Xavier Scott, getting some of the pass down work. But while Jones was out earlier in the year, Mason didn't blow the doors off of fantasy or anything like that. But I think it was the RB16 and PPR points per game. And, I'm sorry about your bet, Pat, but he actually has been running pretty hard this year. I try to do some of these charts where it's like yards after contact and missed tackles forced per carry, just trying to, just look at the individual effort from the running backs. He's up there in the top right, with guys like Jonathan Taylor and some of the more efficient rushers in the league. So obviously I think the bigger issues for Jordan Mason haven't been in his control. It's been this ridiculously banged up offensive line and a scoring offense, whether it's with 9 or, Brosmer under center, that hasn't been, up to the task as well. So I think Mason himself is still a good running back. I think top 20 is warranted. And hey, they do finally get a cake matchup here against the Commanders. So I do wonder if this could maybe be the week that we see the running backs find the end zone. And maybe, just maybe, guys, Justin Jefferson doesn't completely bust in fantasy then. How crazy would that be?
It'd be so sad for all those teams that are 3-13.
I would say
finally get a boom
for Mason, Pat. I would be tempted to put him over Genty going against the Broncos. Like, that's how, like, the volume of Judkins against Tennessee. I'm taking that all day long. And honestly, I could see pushing ETN down 2 spots only because for all the concerns about Kyron Williams, I mean, Bashal Tutin has turned into the goal line back for the Jaguars. I know it's been 2 weeks. It's been alternating weeks. So 3 games ago, it was Tutin at the goal line. Last week, it wasn't, and basically they didn't even go to Tutin, and then they did it again this past week. So I get the inconsistency, and I'm with you. And we've been like, hey, campaigning that, hey, let's give ETN more respect this year. But I could see Judkins going against Tennessee over ETN, and then Mason with no Jones. I would be tempted to play him over ETN too, but that's the range, like a high-end RB2.
If you had to have a desperation pickup, someone under 5% at running back that you simply had to plug into a lineup of, let's say, 40 and down this week in Ian's rankings, who would it be, and why is it Keaton Mitchell against Pittsburgh?
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly that was the name I was going to say, because look, the Steelers' run defense is better than their pass defense, but every single game, Derrick Henry cedes some touches to Keaton Mitchell at this point. It is December, and Derrick Henry is going to score, but Keaton Mitchell might also score. Just that might be one of the carries that they give to him. So that's exactly the name I was going to bring up.
Ian, do you have anyone else?
Man. Yeah, we randomly, like last week, Rasheen Ali actually led the Ravens in snaps. I know they kind of had the bad, trailing game script and stuff, but come on, man. Like, how do you actively have Derrick Henry like standing on your sideline for more than half of the game? I just don't quite get it. So I would actually go probably to Ty Johnson. I do think we can see this Bills-Bengals game turn into a shootout of sorts. And just the way they use these running backs, I mean, Ty Johnson, like they're not afraid of actually giving him the ball, even in some of these short yardage goal line situations. So Ray Davis has gotten a little bit more involved in these recent weeks, but obviously the guys we're talking about, beggars can't exactly be choosers. So Ty Johnson is one of these guys where I think as Buffalo continues to try to search for any sort of, consistency or just top performance in their passing game, maybe they get Dalton Kincaid back, but we know Ty Johnson actually has some chops as a downfield wheel route sort of option as well. So I go Ty Johnson.
Who is the backup for Bucky Irving at this point? I think it's, listen, you don't know, but I think it's Sean Tucker, that if Irving didn't exist, Tucker would be the guy that they lean to. It's just they lean nothing on Sean Tucker when Bucky Irving is healthy.
No, I think it would. I think what we saw in the last game before this happened, I think it's still 50-50. And that's why, like, if I'm going to go 50-50, I'm with you. I think that Sean Tucker would be the lead, quote unquote. But I do think Rachaad White in a 50-50 getting the passing game work is why I was still lean with him. I mean, they started Rachaad White in that game for all intents and purposes before they turned to Bucky Irving. So I'm with you, Pat. I just think when it's that close of a split, I'd rather just go with the one that they use in the passing game.
I'd rather use the better guy. I think Tucker's better than Rachaad White, Ian.
But they don't use him that way.
They did against the Bills.
I think, unfortunately, it's just going to be close enough that neither guy is going to be, a must-start option. So the schedule does get nice for Tampa Bay, but I don't know, man. Like, if I do have that extra bench spot, I'd much rather have a Brian Robinson or a Blake Corum or a Bashaw Tootin, just someone there where I think they are one injury away from legit skyrocketing up the ranks. We'd be looking at Tucker and, honestly, Rachaad White the same way. Probably not even cracking the top 20 without any teams on bye.
Do you have
a repeat of last year that Jonathan Taylor gets hurt and it's Amir Abdul time to win us the playoffs?
That was fantastic.
Balled out.
Fantastic.
I was going to say, to your question, Pat, like if you're super, super, super deep, like, yeah, I mean, even somebody like we brought up before, Keaton Mitchell's rostered at this point, then you might as well just take like the Jonathan Taylor backup or the Ashton Genty backup, and maybe they get hurt in the first quarter, and then boom,
Kent Bigsby.
15 to. There you go, like something like that.
Would it be Bigsby? Are you sure it wouldn't be Shipley?
It wouldn't be clear cut. I don't think it'd be Bigsby getting 30 touches or anything. But I think he'd be the lead early down back. And, let's face it, it's not like Saquon's just racking up reception after reception with Hurts under center as it is. So I think it'd be Bigsby.
I'm with Ian, and to your point about the Buccaneers, Pat, I actually think Bigsby is Tucker and then Shipley is White.
Yeah, who is Jonathan Taylor's backup right now?
Abdullah. I wasn't joking with that.
Oh, it still
DJ
is
Giddens is out.
Okay.
What?
And then it would be Raheem.
They got Goods in there too. I think it'd be pretty messy. Don't stash Abdullah. Famous last words.
It's just like that. I just think he would be the lead.
If Derrick Henry went out, would it be Keaton Mitchell?
I think so.
Initially, yes, but I don't think it's as much as the workload as initially thought when Justice Hill got hurt. So to your point about the fact that they used Rashawn Ali, like I think that he would be involved.
It seemed like Ali, Ian, was taking more of the Justice Hill role where he was just primarily in on passing downs.
Yeah, it's similar to what we saw in Buffalo last year when James Cook missed the game. Like Ty Johnson was the direct backup, but when you actually removed the starter, it was Ray Davis stepping up in the early down role. Ty Johnson's didn't really change all that much. I kind of think that's what we would see in Baltimore. Wouldn't expect, 20 touches necessarily for Keaton Mitchell, but hey, this dude is up there on the all-time leaderboard in yards per carry. He doesn't need 20 touches to make the most out of them. So I do think that Keaton would be the guy that we'd have higher up in the ranks. Probably wouldn't see much of a role change for Ali at this point.
Well, we'll get to Ian's wide receiver rankings and more like the other positions right after this. You know how it goes. Every holiday season, I tell myself I'm way ahead on gifts, and suddenly I'm the week of, and I'm not. And I'm panicking, scrolling through nonsense. But this year, actually nailed it. Because when you send Omaha Steaks, you're not sending a gift. You're sending the world's best steak experience. Hosting, gifting, last-minute scrambling, they got you covered. I've been hammering these filet mignons, USDA certified, very tender. Throw them on the cast iron, little butter base. It's holiday magic without any of the stress, and gifting them. Every single person I've sent Omaha Steaks to acts like I handed them gold bars. Convenience, quality, variety, it's all there. Save big on gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Sizzle All the Way sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code MAYO at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's omahasteaks.com, code MAYO. You know how much time I spend researching bets and lineups and shows and getting everything ready for you? So when it's actually time to sleep, I need it to count. That's why I switched to a Helix mattress, and honestly, game changer. I have Helix mattresses all over my house. My wife and I have one. The guest room has one. My kids have one. I got a kid on the way, and eventually they're going to have one too. Even Jared over at the studio living there, I got him a Helix mattress as well. Populated with Helix, you need to do it too. I used to wake up with a stiff back and night sweats. Now I just sleep through the night. No tossing around, no overheating. It's just comfortable and supportive. I took their quiz, I tailored it to myself, and boom, I got exactly what I needed from the mattress I deserve. I think you deserve a nice one too. So go to helixsleep.com/Mayo for 27% off and exclusive to Pat Mayo Experience listeners. That's helixsleep.com/Mayo for 27% off. Make sure to enter my show name after checkout so they know I sent you. helixsleep.com/Mayo. I'm not lying about that sleep thingy. I had 14 hours of sleep last night. It was glorious.
I just like you hooking up Jared, man. Let's go. Let people helping people.
That's it. Every time I got you some Manscaped stuff too. Do you have the Manscaped stuff still?
If you guys haven't tried Manscaped, it is unreal.
There you go.
Not just a plug either. It's great. Heather was overjoyed.
I've actually had 3 different Manscapes through the Athletic. So yeah.
Yeah, well, eventually I as a part of the deals with these advertisers, I always get them to send me new things every time that they re-up. So, I'm not going to throw them in the trash. I like them, but I was so sick yesterday after I recorded the show. I started getting like sore throat, got the chills, just went to bed with when my son went to bed, brought him to bed and just slept all night. It was fantastic. Hopefully as fantastic as these wide receiver rankings. So, whoa. Yeah. Rashee Rice, numero 1. In the rankings against Houston, JSN, Jamar Chase, Puka, Adams. JSN is a bum. What a loser. He's going to have
First single-digit performance.
0 yards the rest of the season for him. Lamb, Pickens, Collins, Jamison Williams with no Amon-Ra expected in the lineup this week for the Lions on Thursday night. Jalen Waddle, Olave, A.J. Brown, Drake London, T. Higgins, Lad McConkey, Devonta Smith, Agbuka, Justin Jefferson, Cortland Sutton, Zay Flowers in at number 20. Then Marv. Is Marv going to be okay? I saw he had the heel injury.
Unknown.
I don't know yet. He was kind of on and off the field. It didn't seem super serious. Honestly, it's something to keep an eye out for. Because, if he's out, we obviously saw what Michael Wilson could do. So 2 tougher matchups coming up for, Jacoby Brissett and company. They got the Rams this week and the Texans the next. So maybe we don't see quite as many passing yards going there. But if Marv was out of the picture, I'll put Michael Wilson ahead of Justin Jefferson, man. That's for sure.
Yeah, where do you have Justin Jefferson? Jefferson is at Jefferson
18. I wanted him lower, man. I couldn't do it, though.
All right.
Cortland Sutton, Zay Flowers, like these other guys have warts too. I know, but they're facing Washington. Justin Jefferson's so good. Please, McCarthy, get one of the best wide receivers in the league. One good game. That's all we're freaking asking.
Here's how you do it.
Jake, let's play the game. Let's play the game of who we would start over Justin Jefferson. Okay. That is below. I'll go first. Zay Flowers.
No.
You have to pick now.
Oh, that I would take? I would take Alec Pierce.
I would take Christian Watson.
I would also, so I'll take Michael Pittman as well.
I will take Jacoby Myers.
I'll take Terry McLaurin, 100%.
I will take, do I want to take Rome Odunze? I feel like that's a real toss-up. Odunze's been awful. It's
the schedule, and there's just a multitude of options. Caleb Williams isn't even throwing that much. I would take Jefferson over Odunze at this point.
Would you take Brian Thomas?
Not yet. Not until they get him back. I don't know if it's because he's not 100%, but they did not use him as the number 1 in that game.
I would probably you constantly rank Cortland Sutton so highly. I think I would still go with Troy Franklin on a week to week basis.
Pat Bryant ran as the 2.
Job snatched. Yeah.
Hey, every week Pat Bryant, longest reception. He's the new Alec Pierce.
He fits. This is what I was saying about when they drafted him. Is I didn't love Pat Bryant the player, but I loved his landing spot for his skill set because he's Michael Thomas, he's Marcus Colston. He's never going to be a 1. He's never going to be a 2. I want to make that clear. I'm talking purely about what he does. And Sean Payton wants that role in his offense. He wants that big slot option, and he immediately he usurped him after the bye. I don't think I agree with you, Pat. It's Sean Payton. Like, this could go any given week. It's going to rotate. Cortland Sutton's the only one we could trust. But I have enough concerns of Troy Franklin now that he's using Pat Bryant in that role.
How about A.D. Mitchell?
Oh, like all day long. He is A.D. Mitchell. 2 straight games, 7 targets. All his fault in the first game. Half and half in the second game with Tyrod Taylor. The connection's finally there. They went to him 3 games in a row trying to and making him the number 1 option against Miami. He should be in the conversation of I'd say almost not quite a Christian Watson, but those boomer bust wide receiver 3s or 4s where you might get 18 and you might get 2. He's lesser version Alec Pierce. He's Alec Pierce if Alec Pierce was on the Jets.
Alec Pierce winning at the top point on these like bombs down the field, Ian, is something to watch.
He this year is, let's see, 68.9 receiving yards per game. That's the 10th best mark among wide receivers. Like, it is crazy how productive he has actually been able to do. He's scoring the touchdowns now. He is absolutely going to get paid. Number 1 in the NFL in yards per target over these last 2 years. And yeah, part of that's because a lot of his targets are downfield, but you got to be pretty good to be earning those in the first place. So, man, Alec Pierce, the Colts wide receiver 1 at this moment.
So I would probably bump down Egbuka, Jefferson, Sutton, and Marvin Harrison. Those would be the guys, not like significantly down, but like 5-10 spots. And I would play these like middling options over them. I just have no faith in these guys whatsoever.
I will say, kind of like if we did the circle of trust game, I think it probably is like right after Devonta Smith, I just started losing a little bit of faith. So even though I have Jefferson ranked ahead of those guys, you guys were really slandering the man with, I can't understand it. It does start to get to a tier. The one thing I will say with A.D. Mitchell, okay, the targets are there and I get it, but let's pump the brakes a little bit on that, alleged week 13 breakout. Okay, cool touchdown, first of his career and everything. The quarterback fell down on an underthrow from Tyrod. And then like every single other one of his catches, guys, were just like big time off coverage and Tyrod hit him for like 8 to 10 yard games. So I don't know. I've liked A.D. Mitchell a lot over the years and everything. 2 years, okay, so not going back, a decade or anything like that. I know he can separate and stuff, but just, again, one performance, I'm not ready to, go all Dennis Green and crown his ass just yet.
No, but if we were talking about somebody who hadn't disappointed and was getting a 33% target share over the course of 3 games, we'd all be like, oh, this guy deserves attention. It's more so like if we didn't know who A.D. Mitchell was and didn't see the inconsistency with his hands, like what's the difference between Quentin Johnson at the beginning of this year and A.D. Mitchell now? And that's really what he, at least I understand what you're saying, Ian, but he's the one. He's the and it is the Jets offense. It is Tyrod Taylor. And you don't like everything you're saying is a valid point. But I'm just saying, like, he's lesser version Alec Pierce. And for me, that deserves wide receiver 3 conversation where I think, by the way, I didn't even see him there. I would push up Chris Godwin. He looked healthy in that game. He was separating with ease in that game. Where you have A.D. Mitchell, like, I'd bump him a few more spots just like over Debo at this point because Debo doesn't look 100%. And Xavier Worthy against the Texans, like, why do we keep, not you, Ian, but why do we keep ranking Xavier Worthy as anything? He hasn't done anything this entire, what was the last time he had a double-digit performance? Week 3 or 4? Like, Xavier Worthy, just throw him away.
Well, there's some injuries we got to watch out for. There's no guarantee Higgins is going to be back for this game against the Bills. I would expect him to be back, hence why he's in the rankings. But Parker Washington may or may not play with this hip injury. We still don't know about Marvin Harrison. Drake London could be back. We'll see about that. Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden could both be back too. And it seems like Amon-Ra isn't going to play. But I think the biggest thing lingering over these rankings right now, because you talked about the circle of trust, Ian, just after Devonta Smith, who I barely trust at this point. Ladd is at 15, but if Herbert doesn't go, like, these guys aren't playable.
Yeah, I still would probably find a spot for Ladd inside my top 30. I think QJ and Keenan would be the ones I'd be dropping a little bit more. So I will say, Trey Lance, I don't know. He could be okay enough. I'm just not going to assume he can't throw a forward pass. I know he's more of a run first quarterback and everything. And it's not like, okay. Obviously it's a drop off from Justin Herbert, but I don't know, man, like just in terms trying to like do the projection thing. Okay. Like we probably with a healthy Justin Herbert, we're saying like 240, 250 passing yards, I would imagine in that matchup. So when you go to Trey Lance, more like a Tyrod Taylor, like 180 ish probably. So again, it's one of those situations where, yeah, we move him down, but I don't think McConkey becomes completely unplayable. It's more so the Gadsons, the Quentin Johnsons of the world where, yeah, I'm taking the other guy in close start decisions with them.
I may not have saw him inside the top 10, but where's Dr. Tom Kennedy? That guy's great.
No, he's up there, number 8, right ahead of Jimmy.
Well, like, is he a better play than Tesla?
I don't think so. Tesla, man, he's just honestly made just 10, 11 targets this year. He's got 3 touchdowns, 100 yards on it. So I think he's been pretty, honestly, man, that was the guy where I thought you guys might be coming at me saying, we got to move this dude up. Just given that matchup, Cowboys' worst defense in the league against wide receivers. Tesla would be the guy where honestly, if you wanted to say, oh, Alec Pierce, Christian Watson, Isaac Tesla, I do think if we do see a multi-week absence from Amon-Ra, one more good game from Tesla, that's probably where we're ranking him next week.
Well, Jake,
I will say
I would be curious about the snap counts and where these guys lined up on the field, because it did seem like, because Khalif Raymond was out as well, that Kennedy just kind of stepped into that Amon-Ra slot role and the other guys kind of stayed the same.
not even so much that. You brought up the name I was going to caution people with, is that this team just loves Khalif Raymond. If Khalif Raymond is playing, I'd be majorly concerned about Tesla. I would actually, Khalif Raymond playing, I would probably slide Tesla back to like Keenan Allen, just because it's the risk of, or it's the upside. It's the touchdown or bust basically at that point, because it's like all these other teams with like the Giants with Isaiah Hodgins and Darius Slayton, your guys, boy, like they just love some of these teams, just love some of these wide receivers and will continue to put them out there if somebody goes down. So if there is no there's no Khalif Raymond, I think Tesla where he has them, but to your point, is that's more of an in-game adjustment. And I think Tesla against the Cowboys is worth it at that spot.
So you wouldn't play Kennedy, like you wouldn't consider Kennedy?
No, I think that was more of an in-game adjustment.
Okay. What about someone like Luther Burden, who's been Chicago's best receiver now for like 3 weeks?
Yeah, but that's like saying you're the best Titans running back.
That gets you right around 40.
Yeah. If you wanted to move him up a little bit, like over Mechie, that's fine. DK was destroyed. Like the return of Ayumanner just made you can't play any Titans at all. So
yeah, there's not a Titan you can play, is there?
No, that's what I was saying. It was at least DK while Ayumanner was out, and now it's nobody.
Trying to find some other soft spots here. Is Devon Vele just a Dolphin killer, or is he a real wide receiver too? And it was tipped in early in the game, then it was all Vele later on.
So Vele is Adonai Mitchell on the Saints.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
No, he's not. Chris Olave is the easy number one. That is not the same. We could say Vele is like the John
same
Mechie
player.
Saints.
Yeah, he's the number 2. He's the number. Yeah, he's Adonai Mitchell on the Saints as the number 2. To clarify what your point is, he's the same player. He's the same player. Put Adonai Mitchell as the 2 on the Saints, and that's who he is.
I would bump him up to like that Jordan Addison, Shakir range, honestly, like number 40. Like I'd rather play him than Jaden Higgins or DK or Mooney or Downs or any of those guys. Just give me a chance.
I'd like to see it one more time, just because, again, he had a good 93 yards last week. Also recovered the onside kick, had the touchdown. Like the dude looked good out there. He was also on the Saints for the previous 10 games that he played. He had 91 total yards there. So I will just caution with that. But at the same time, when we see these kind of random booms, you want to just be like, all right, why did it happen? He has been playing a full-time role since Rashid Shaheed and Brandon Cooks were, exiting the picture there. And this schedule, guys, Bucks, Panthers, Jets, and Titans for the Saints the rest of the way. I see where you're coming from, Pat. Maybe, again, I don't know if I can go Addison level high yet, but if you want to put him up there, ahead of Mechie, ahead of DK and stuff, I could see that.
Well, Jake, do we know who's coming back to play quarterback for the Vikings? Is JJ McCarthy gonna play?
It sounds like it. Already yesterday, they said that if it was a concussion situation, that it looks like he's going to clear it. It's speculative because it was Monday, but it sounded like he's ready to go already.
All right, let's see some of the questions.
Let's be honest, Pat. It was a concussion last week, so.
Well, maybe it worked out for the best because they got to play Brosmer, and people were like, man, maybe JJ McCarthy's not so bad.
When you go out there, and who was the one from the Raiders? When you put up a Nathan Peterson type performance,
Nathan Peterson.
It couldn't get worse. It did.
I will say this reminds me a little bit of the Jake Browning stretch with the Bengals where, yes, it's bad. All right, Jake Browning's a bad quarterback, but they've also had some pretty, annoying matchups here. Having to face the Seahawks in Seattle, Green Bay in Green Bay. Even the Bears and Ravens defenses have been playing a little bit better as it goes on. So I guess that's kind of why I'm giving the one more chance to Justin Jefferson here. This Commanders defense has been bad even before they lost Marshawn Lattimore and some of their other top cornerbacks for the season. So God forbid we can't get it done here, man. But you do look at the schedule, man. Commanders, Cowboys, Giants, and Lions the rest of the way. I think Justin Jefferson can win some people their consolation brackets, man.
JJ McCarthy, best streamer of the season.
Oh God,
is that what we're getting to?
Maybe with that lineup of guys. Would you trust Mike Evans in the fantasy playoffs if he comes back?
when does he come back? We just played this game last year with the Buccaneers. Remember, Chris Godwin was supposed to be back, and Chris Godwin was supposed to help, and then Chris Godwin was supposed to be in the playoffs. And then, I mean, I get it. It is Mike Evans, and he's pushing for it, and the timetable is actually supposed to be shorter than the previous time. But I don't know. If he came back, put it this way, if he came back in week 15, we'd all want to wait a week. So you'd have 16 and 17 maybe, but like week 15 is still majorly up in the air. And then if it's 16, you're waiting for 17. So sure, if he has a good game, but are you going to trust him in his first game back, especially with what I brought up? Like what I saw, like I said, Chris Godwin finally looked 100%. Maybe they brought him back too early, or maybe that layoff got him that extra time. But does he even come back and get the Mike Evans volume? Because they need him to with Ibuka and Godwin.
If Marvin Harrison sits in this terrible matchup against the Rams, Ian, how high would
number
Michael
one
Wilson go? Yeah, that's number 2. Yeah, come on now.
Michael Wilson. Ian, I know. I got. Hold on, I'm going to try and guess. What'd you say? You didn't. I didn't hear what you said, so I'm just going to try and guess. Michael Wilson for you. You'd put him ahead of Drake London at 13.
I think I go ahead of Lab McConkey, wide receiver 15, right in that range.
You hate Michael Wilson, don't you?
Just the wide receiver 15.
Can't play him over Waddle.
I figured with Kirk Cousins in that matchup against Seattle that you would take him over London.
No, that's true. You could make that argument. And again, last year we saw with Kirk Cousins, I mean, Darnell Mooney had more receiving yards in London through like the first 14 weeks of the year. So that could be one of those things. I know London's had some fantastic performances this year, but he just meshes better with, Penix's more DGAF attitude. I think Cousins is a little bit more willing just to throw the ball to the open guy, check the ball down to Kyle Pitts.
T. Hamilton does want to know from the weekend, who had the better catch, Treylon Burks or Puka?
Odell Beckham.
I'd say Treylon. That was sick, man.
Because they showed that over like 15 times.
Yeah, but the Puka one was interesting because he was able to leverage the defender's hand to catch the ball somehow. It was pretty impressive.
It was honestly not. It was different, but it was almost like that Justin Jefferson catch against who was it? The Bills game, that wild one, from like 3 years ago. You can almost make the argument. It's like, well, we kind of used the defender to his advantage, but does that make it more impressive? So I don't know. But I would say just Treylon, more pure. Got the touchdown. Got to give him some extra points on that as well.
Let's see here. Oh, the chat. Mr. Nice Guy says, Michael Wilson against Emmanuel Ford? No way. Sounds like you need to take his, well, I shouldn't say that, out of your mouth. Put it that way. Like, it's fine. There's going to be 55 passing attempts for Jacoby Brissett. Goes to 2 guys.
Here's your perfect example, Pat. Emmanuel Forbes had been a matchup concern last week. 5 for 5, a perfect passer rating, and 100+ yards and a touchdown against him.
I think 2, yeah.
Tough scene for him.
So
look, it's just playing cornerback in the NFL, man. Even Derek Stingley, who I think deserves to be in a top 5 conversation. Like, you can find clips of A.D. Mitchell, Kayshon Boutte beating this guy, man. So, look, I think it's fair, like in a pure one-on-one shadow situation, when you know that you're going to have a wide receiver C in the top corner, downgrade him a few spots. But even then, man, volume wins out. And as much as we try to predict these matchups, like, they rarely happen one-on-one for more than 50, 60% of the snaps. And, the heavy majority of teams run zone coverage for like 70% plus of their snaps anyway.
All right.
Wait, who said that, Pat? Who said it in the chat?
Mr. Nice Guy.
Oh, well, also, I apologize to Mr. Nice Guy. That's what I thought you said. He's good. Unlike you guys, he actually wished me a happy birthday this weekend.
Whoa.
I wished you happy birthday on the show last week.
Oh, you
How
did.
I'm
sorry.
know
I apologize.
birthdays?
Advanced birthdays.
Jake
I don't go on Facebook.
Jake
no, it was on. No, they know for years, but also I posted on Instagram because, the wide shot. You're going to wide shot me, Pat, here? Like, Nicole found these figurines at this, what's the old store's antique store? A bunch of Darkwing Ducks and DuckTales and all this type of stuff.
Antique store. Ian, you ever antique anyone?
I like going thrift shopping. Is that just like the poor person version of antiquing?
I know. I just meant like if someone's passed out at a party, you take a handful of flour and throw it in their face. Then they look vintage and you say that they got antiqued.
I haven't, but now I want to.
Is this what the kids are doing, Pat? And then they yell 6'7", and then
I will assure you, the kids aren't doing that. The kids from 25 years ago were doing that. The elder millennials were doing that.
I have never heard of that one.
Oh, you weren't around enough people who are passing out at parties.
I think we just on their face.
The most I saw was like put the shaving cream in their hand and tickle their face type. I've never seen the antiquing one.
Antiquing is way more hilarious. Tight ends, quarterbacks, and streaming defenses. Plus, more of your questions coming up right after this. This episode is brought to you by Manscaped. Holidays, they're here, which means it's officially gift-giving season. Nothing says, I appreciate you quite like the gift of smoothness of your balls. Whether you're shopping for your partner, your brother, or honestly, yourself, the Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate upgrade. This thing is a full grooming arsenal. You get the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Trimmer. Super precise, very reliable, and great for keeping everything neat before those holiday parties or date nights or random people that you haven't seen in 15 years that you meet at a bar when you go home at Christmas time. You want to be trimmed, all right? Plus, the Weed Whacker 3.0 for nose, ear, and eyebrow cleanup so you're not showing up with rogue hairs trying to ruin your family photos is a must. Give the gift of smooth this holiday season with the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. Get 15% off your entire order with code PATMAYO at manscaped.com. That's 15% off with code PATMAYO at manscaped.com. Stay on top of your grooming game and be ready for anything the season throws your way. Now that I'm old, I've had to come to the fact that I just don't bounce back the way that I used to. I don't wake up in the morning feeling normal. And now that football season has started, that is absolutely unacceptable. I got work to do in the morning, and I got kids that are waking up. It's no good. But that isn't a problem anymore because I found ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. The ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic, invented by PhD scientists to tackle the rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for the rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol the first drink of your night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel the best tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/PatMayo to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use PatMayo at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund you your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/PatMayo and use the code PatMayo at checkout for 15% off. Tight end rankings. Question for you, Ian, first. Was Trey McBride the best pick in fantasy?
Looking that way. I mean, getting the quarterback change to a guy averaging 312 passing yards per game certainly helped. Not sure we can necessarily see that coming. Brock Bowers had the injury and stuff. But, dude, I mean, since Jacoby took over, he's literally the number 2 scorer among wide receivers and tight ends. So it's been just a complete, advantage there in your lineup. So, what, third round? A lot of times you can probably make that argument.
Yeah, third round and the opportunity cost, because I think he went third behind Bowers and Kittle, Jake, that he so outperformed both the equivalent players at a 1Z position that he was going around. He has one game below 10 fantasy points this year. It was 9.1.
Yeah, but I would disagree with that one. I get what you're saying, but I still think second round Jackson Smith and Jigba all day long. I mean, you didn't have to wait half the season to get what you got from him, but he would be number 2, in my opinion.
Not Jonathan Taylor?
Jonathan Taylor is still a first rounder. And I was actually looking at your question about, so Bowers was 1. Trey McBride ended up the second tight end off the board at the end of the second. Jackson Smith and Jigba where was Jackson Smith? No, forget it. This is the answer. Jackson Smith and Jigba was the end of the third round. That's
really? End of the third. Wow.
But Javonte Williams.
Javonte Williams? Javonte for like the really lower end guys, probably.
Him and maybe Rashee Rice.
Ian was all over that. Ian was all over Javonte Williams.
Rashee Rice, you have to wait 6 weeks. And Javonte Williams is fine, but he's still like a fringe RB1. So like as an MVP on discount, sure, but like pure, you can't deny the number 1 player that's putting up basically the 1 year of Cooper Kupp numbers almost without the touchdowns at the end of the third round.
It's been impressive, but I do think that kind of the boring veteran RB has had a real nice year. Javonte Williams, DeAndre Swift, a lot of people were writing him off. I know Mononga's getting more involved, but Swift's still been solid. Then Travis Etienne, as much as everyone wanted Bayshall Tootin to happen, man, Etienne still has himself a nice year. So those would be the 3, like just value above your kind of pick. I think they might actually be able to start, just earning a spot in that conversation. But I probably JSN at the end of the day. He should get fantasy MVP.
Well, or is it just McCaffrey? Because McCaffrey just should have been the first pick.
McCaffrey still went top 7. Yeah. He was 7th.
Yeah, but I
hate people trying to victory lap Christian McCaffrey. Like it was always just, he's going to ball out if he's healthy. He's been healthy. Great.
But I think that we talked about this in the preseason. We did the running back rankings, that if it was your thought that McCaffrey was going to be healthy for the 17 games, there's no way that he shouldn't be the number 1 pick.
You still could argue that he's 2 or 3. It's top 3. 100%, Pat, depending on like which way you wanted to go with it.
But he has been the best fantasy player.
No, isn't he 2? Isn't he
Full
behind
PPR,
Taylor?
probably.
In full PPR,
Full PPR.
in full PPR, he's outscoring Jonathan Taylor by 30 points.
No, but I'm talking
He
about
hasn't
points
had
per
a
game.
bye.
Points per game. Jonathan Taylor's in front of him. He's got his bye this week.
Okay.
What is he in full point PPR and points per game?
He'd still be behind because he's not scoring 30 points a game.
Yeah, so point set. He's ahead of full PPR, 0.7, half point PPR. He's behind by 1.2. So neck and neck.
I guess you're right about JSM because he's outscoring the next closest receiver by so much, and who I think is George Pickens.
It is George Pickens by
Another
2
great
points
pick.
per game.
And somehow Puka is still number 3, despite the fact that he missed, 2.5 games?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he's
also
giving
tied
up
for
2
number 2 in
touchdowns a
points
game
per
to
game.
Adams inside the 10.
Actually, yeah, there's one. You could argue for Adams. Where was Adams in the whole here?
I feel like Adams was a 4th rounder this year.
I know, but I'm saying it. He was a good call, Pat. He was 46th at the end of the 4th.
Ooh, okay. I have a cool stat trivia for you guys. Devontae Adams.
Wait. Real quick, Ian. Real quick. Do you want to know who Adams was 1 pick behind?
Oh no, in the wide receiver ranks.
It's not wide receiver. It was a running back that went directly in front of him.
Who?
Travion Henderson.
Ooh.
Tough scene.
All right, what's your trivia?
Devontae Adams has 14 receiving touchdowns after 13 weeks of action. 3 other wide receivers have done it since 2000. 2 of them are Randy Moss and Terrell Owens. One guess for the other guy. You won't get it.
Mushin Muhammad.
No, that was a good guess. Jake?
2010.
Oh, 2010?
2010?
Mark Bowick was before that.
What did Jared guess?
Jared didn't guess anything. I was just trying to think out loud. Since 2010, what was it? Do you have 15 or more touchdowns?
He had 14 touchdowns in the first 13 games.
Not
He had
Gronk.
Dwayne Bowe.
Oh, yeah, Dwayne Bowe.
Holy heck, good call. Dwayne Bowe. Oh, my gosh.
Well, 9 of them have come inside the 5-yard line, haven't they, for Adams?
Sounds right.
That's an interesting number.
I believe that I saw that his 9 touchdowns inside the 5-yard line are already tied for the NFL record for a receiver.
It's like he's already going to push, but way more entertaining.
He's already going to be only I think 4th or 5th wide receiver of the age of 32 plus to lead the NFL in receiving touchdowns.
Tight end rankings for this week. Trey McBride is number 1. Bowers is number 2. There's a pretty big drop off, although Ian, the Bauer stuff is like every other week, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I don't know how you go through a whole game. Like Greg Olsen, the offensive coordinator, gets promoted, and you only had 4 targets for Brock Bowers, and he's just completely beasting dudes on him. Like, the dude does not even need to be open to catch the football. And he's also an incredible yak threat. Like, just 4 targets for that dude when you have Trey Tucker and Deontay Thornton. Like, I feel like you should be getting 4 to 5, like, schemed, like, pop pass, screen sort of targets on top of everything else that happens. So that was just disappointing, man. But it will be interesting to see what the Raiders can do ahead of next year, because I don't think we've seen anything this year to suggest that Bowers isn't, a quote unquote generational talent at the position. Every bit as good, I think, that we thought he was. Just been, one unfortunate Raider circumstance after another this year.
Try offensive lineman. I feel like that would help.
Pat.
But it is a drop off, man. Like, Pat, where would your circle of trust be here? For me, I think if Kincaid returns, given the matchup against the Bengals, I would put him in there. But, as weird as it felt to put Harold Fannin number 7, which we can talk about, but he is playing a full-time role, good matchup, and he's just a beast. Like, from Fannin to Goddard, if you flip that upside down, I mean, I probably wouldn't call you completely crazy.
The only guy that I would bump up here, I would put Strange at number 6 ahead of Kincaid. I think that Strange is just playing enough and doing enough at a very mediocre level every single week that he's safe-ish for points, where some of these guys are just like disasters for points.
So I would just flip all 3. All 4. I would go Waller before I went to Strange. In his first game back, he was already the 2 on that team again, gets the Jets. I would go Waller before I went Kincaid or Fannin or Strange. My concern, I agree with you on Strange, Pat. My concern is, again, that was Brian Thomas's first game back. It ruined Parker Washington. You might as well just drop. He wasn't even out there for 40% of the routes.
Well, he got hurt.
So what if no, I understand. Like, so before he left. So yes, that is true for the full game. But on top of that, with Strange, was that just a facet of Brian Thomas not being out there for the entire time, or whatever it might be? But Fannin was used a lot by Sanders, so I agree with Ian on that. But all 4 of those are in that range. They're in the same bucket. I looked it up, and you're right. Would you say 7 inside the 5, Pat? Because it's 7 inside the 5 for Devontae Adams. 2 more inside the 10.
Maybe that's what
and
it was.
only
Nine inside the 10 is probably what.
So it's 9 inside the 10, and then the other 3 were from the 16, 24, and 44. He only has 2 like actual deep-ish ones.
I can't remember a better end zone receiver of like the past 10 years. That's always been his calling card.
Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah. I mean, Gronkowski's not really a receiver, but.
No, the receiving option.
I mean, I think you can make the case that just for like pure goal line work, that Adams was better than Dez. Like, Dez is a better receiver.
I think that's fair.
But just for, hey, we're on the 2-yard line, chuck it up. And it's not even like the Dez was always like, hey, back shoulder fade, he'll go up and get it. Like, that's not what these Adams touchdowns are, weirdly enough. He's just really good at getting open for 2 yards.
Dez wasn't like chopping his feet and just like creating separation on that slant that Adams was just killing guys on. I hear you. But just pure, if we had to take every single wide receiver of the last 10 years and make them do, kind of a backyard football, 500, sort of style jump ball game, give me Dez, man.
Yeah, well, I completely agree with you on that. Like, I don't even know if I would want Devontae Adams that much in like a jump ball situation. But the way that he burned the Carolina dude this week was hilarious. And the pass that Stafford made was horrible, and he still got it.
So only half of his routes in this area have been go routes, which are basically just, I mean, you only have 3 yards, you're just going. But to your point, Pat, is that it ends up being he just takes it from the defender and there's no chance there. The others were post routes and slants, which those are the ones where you actually are running a route.
Underrated jump ball receiver from the last 10 years. Another Stafford special, Marvin Jones.
Marv was good. Never forget his 4-touchdown game. Is Gadsden playable if Herbert doesn't play?
No.
Okay. So that's going to be iffy. I think that Herbert is going to play, but that's me. But it's still kind of dicey if you don't have, like, if there's better options out there, and then you have to wait till Monday night, and you're like, oh, God, this is going to go horribly. Unless somehow you own Goddard as well, and you can just play him in that spot. If you had to, like, I have Theo Johnson on bye. Like, my team is, like, absolutely cooked in this keeper league. Just trying to roll it over for next year. But I have to pick up someone, like, who would you be looking at from basically 15 on? I assume most of those guys. Like, do you believe in this Evan Ingram 1-game resurgence?
No.
I don't think he's going to get to cook Bobby Wagner over the middle every single week, unfortunately. So, Hawkinson's done okay. I think you're just kind of, either way. But I'd say AJ Barner. I think AJ Barner could find his way in the end zone once.
AJ Barner's interesting.
I was thinking Mason Taylor or Colby Parkinson.
I was going even further. I could see Colby Parkinson. I was going to, if you need to, like you said, like very lowly rostered. Gunnar Helm, if under pressure and they're just Cam Ward's doing everything to get the ball out quickly. He's been looking for Gunnar Helm in those situations. And then Isaiah Likely, touchdown or bust. That's what he is. Although he had a couple big plays in that game, which were frustrating because that was supposed to be a Mark Andrews game.
Hold on the freaking ball. We wouldn't be having this Lamar Jackson meltdown. I mean, seriously, I understand people weren't
Zay Flowers
wide awake. Yeah, Zay Flowers, that was a ticky-tack OPI call. Give me a freaking break there. And then Likely freaking drops the ball at the goal line. Devontae Walker has 2 40-plus yard gains, go off his hands. So not like Lamar was perfect on the other passes, but, I mean, you don't usually see, like, legit teammates screw a quarterback out of 2 touchdowns and an extra 100-plus passing yards. So I think some of the Lamar panic is a little bit overstated. I know it sucked, but I see people saying to drop the guy. It's like, give me a break. Lamar faces these Bengals again in Week 15. You guys don't want him when you're starting lineup? Like, come on.
I would play him, yes. I would play Lamar against Cincinnati next time. I would. That's my bold take of the year.
Crazy.
Would I play him this week, though? Let's find out in the Ian's quarterback rankings. I'll follow these to a T. Allen, Hurts, Mahomes, Stafford, Dak, Burrow, Lamar at 7, Goof, Brissett, Baker Mayfield at 10, Nix, Love, Mariota, Caleb Williams, Sam Darnold at 15, Jones, Herbert, Lawrence, CJ Stroud, Tyrod against the Dolphins at home. Comes in at number 20. Why isn't Shedeur number 1 against Tennessee?
He should be, man. He should be. Jake, you got something controversial you want to say about Shedeur? Go for it, man.
Oh, you can't have a reasonable conversation in Shedeur. You should know that by now.
He's
even getting baited in the post-game conferences.
I think he's
like,
better than Gabriel.
Do you agree with their aggressiveness?
I think he's better than Gabriel from what I've seen.
I mean, Emory Hunt, our boy, he was just on a show yesterday, and they asked him which quarterback she would take over Shedeur right now. And I mean, there was a lot of layups to start, and he wasn't supposed to chime in until he got to one that he would say. But they started with like Cam Ward, Gabriel, Geno, Rodgers, JJ McCarthy. They said Lawrence, and he said he would take Sanders still, but then they said Stroud, and that's where he finally stopped.
Wait, who said this?
Emory Hunt.
Emory Hunt said he would rather have Shedeur than Cam Ward?
Yep.
And Trevor Lawrence.
That's wild.
You said Trevor Lawrence was the toss-up.
Oh, come on, man.
Cam Ward, what has Cam Ward done?
I mean, what has Shadur done?
I mean, he's played a better passer than Cam Ward has. I get it, it's a very small sample, but I'm not coming for Emory Hunt. Emory Hunt's been way more right than any of the three of us when it comes to rookies and prospects.
I think Cam Ward's arm talent is in a different stratosphere than Shador. I
will agree with you on that, but you got to put it to practice in the NFL. I'm not saying that he's definitely going to have a better. It's open discourse is the point. This right now is the point with Sanders. You have to be on one side or the other. You can't have an open discourse about it. Let's go back. Pat, you said, would you bench Lamar Jackson? I would actually bench him for Goff at this point, and I'd play Baker over Brissett going against the Rams, even though he throws 40 billion times a game. And I would think about Baker versus Lamar just this week.
What about Knicks against Vegas? It's a good matchup.
Knicks is Kayshon Boutte of quarterbacks. You're either going to get 23 or 5.
Yeah. I probably would go Goff against Dallas as well, Ian. I'm with Jake.
If we have a Monra 100%, even if not, Cowboys D has been playing better, but it's been more so that front seven. They've gotten a lot better at stopping the run, much to, Jerry Jones's happiness there. So I get it. I can see that. And maybe Jacoby too, man, but it is Rams and Texans now. I understand, Bryce Young made the Rams defense not look quite as dominant out there, but I will say, as much as the Jacoby experience has been a fun time, a lot of it has been volume, often of the garbage time variety. So I'm wondering if the clock's, going to strike midnight here on his little fairy tale start of the season. But I think since he took over, only Josh Allen has more fantasy points per game. So maybe I just need to lean into Jacoby more.
I think I'm good with playing Jacoby against the Rams. He's essentially Joe Flacco from 2 years ago.
Yeah,
just hey, let's chuck
this year with the Bengals.
I was going to say Joe Flacco with the Bengals.
Chuck it 50 times and see if it ends up working out. I would bump down Mahomes though. I would play Burrow ahead of Mahomes.
Against the Texans. The Texans legitimately have been a fearsome defense this year.
And
their whole team's on rabies.
Yeah, and Casey's down at least one O-lineman, aren't they?
Yeah,
I think both tackles went out last week. I don't know if they're going to be out this week, but I think Simmons had a
double
bad
check it. Yeah.
bird.
The highest passing yards allowed by the Texans so far this year is 253, and they have more 0 touchdown games allowed than they do games of 2 touchdowns allowed to a quarterback.
So Mahomes over rushing yards this week. I'll put a little star next to that because that's how they're
That's actually the one thing they've given up. 33, 22, 23, 36, 35, 33, 20 to quarterbacks, including Cam Ward, Bo Nix, Mac Jones ran for 23. Baker Mayfield ran for 33 against them.
There we go. Unfortunately, if they are actually down 2 tackles, there might not be any time to run. He might just be dead.
I actually like what you were presenting, though, Jake, because I feel like a lot of times with quarterback rushing, you just end up seeing defenses that played, past versions of Lamar or Jaden Daniels. It just kind of gets skewed. It's kind of like tight end fantasy points against, where it's all right, well, not every tight end's like Trey McBride. Not every quarterback actually runs. But when you do find one like the Texans, where it's consistently 15, 20, per game, that actually is more actionable. So good job by you, Mr. Seeley.
Defenses. I got 4 streamers for the week for you in case you don't have better alternatives. If you do not know what your better alternatives are at this point, God help you. But I got Tampa at home against New Orleans. This is under 25%. Tennessee at Cleveland. Miami at the Jets, and then the Jets at home against Miami. Don't underrate the Jets here because Tua outdoors in the cold, not good.
That's the biggest thing. It's supposed to be 30-something degrees.
What's that?
It's supposed to be in the 30s.
Yeah, it's cold.
Tampa's definitely the top one. Just again, the schedule the rest of the way really does continue to look nice for him. It was a good last send off from the Patriots there on Monday Night Football. Shout out Marcus Jones with that punt return touchdown. But I think Tampa gets us the rest of the way. The Chiefs are also up there just in terms of being pretty readily available. I'm not exactly terrified of this Houston Texans matchup. And again, they have the right combination of being a good enough or average real life defense. They're obviously playing for the playoff spot. Their offense is going to screw them, and the schedule's nice. I just get more worried with teams like the Jets and the Titans and just these horrible teams where, the Jets defense hasn't fallen apart, but like Tyrod could throw 2-3 picks, Myles Garrett, strip sacks them, or they're not playing them. Sorry. Just could be a situation where the offense kind of screws them over. So that'd be my only concern with those other squads. Similar, the only other one I had, Pat, was the Commanders going up against JJ McCarthy, which has been a good pick, but we're talking about just horrible real life defenses here.
Yeah, I think
I was going the other way in that one. because they're only 33% rostered on Yahoo as the Vikings. Again, whether it's Mariota or Daniels, because Daniels is going to take running around opportunities. He was taking more sacks earlier this year and more recklessness this year than he was as a rookie. So I think the Vikings on the other side of the ball for being only 33%. I'm not scared who the quarterback is for the Vikings defense.
I think if you had anyone to choose from, it's probably the Broncos this week. Or hell, it's the Broncos or Browns would be my two guesses as 1 and 2.
Browns. They might get 10 sacks in that game.
Well, you could also like really feel it and be like, yeah, I'll just use this. I'll use the Eagles and hope Trey Lance plays.
Eagles have a nice stretch going too, but they're just a little bit more rostered. I will say, Pat, I want to say you actually nailed the week of this because I remember I was hyping up the Vikings like halfway through the year. Weeks 1 through 6, they were number 1 in EPA allowed per drop back, and you guys basically threw me aside and said, "Oh, come on, Brian Flores, like he's just going to start crashing and
the
burning."
Second half.
Since week 7, the Vikings have been 29th in EPA per drop back. It's by far the biggest fall off in the entire league. So when you're right, Mr. Mayo.
It happens. It happens every single year with Brian Flores. Although I actually thought their defense played pretty well this week. And eventually they just kind of gave up because the offense couldn't do anything. But they had the right game. They showed you a blueprint of how to beat Sam Darnold last week. They just couldn't do anything.
He's had 2 stinkers in his last 3.
Well, anytime the Rams were able to generate pressure without blitzing, and then they allowed them to run. Like if you allow Seattle to try to run on you and they'll get their 3-4 yards per carry, and then you just send the heat at Darnold, like that's the way to beat Seattle. Or at least limit them, is just take away those big over-the-top plays. That's what the Vikings did. That's what the Rams did.
I think a lot of the problem, commentator Greg Olson was talking about this actually with the Seahawks, where a lot of teams were they were going out there and they were matching the Seahawks personnel. They run a lot of 2 tight end stuff. They bring the fullback out there, and accordingly, that was allowing JSN just to feast on defenses that were kind of loading up against the run. So if you kind of do the other side of things and you say, hey, we're going to stay here with our 5 defensive backs and we're going to try to take away your pass first, and we'll rally up against a run game that hasn't been all that effective this year. They've tried to run the ball a lot, but they haven't been great so at doing it. I do think that's, kind of that new puzzle piece that Clint Kubiak has to solve. Maybe it would help to actually try to get the ball to the guy you felt good enough to trade a 4th-round pick for, like Rashid Shaheed, even with Torrey Horton being out, being a complete zero, guys. I don't get it.
Hey, they give him a carry out of the backfield last week.
That was fun.
Yeah.
So I was looking at it. I don't understand what I was going to say, going back to the Vikings, is why this happens every year, to your point, Pat, that we brought it up and introduced Ian to our theory there. You came up with it first, to be clear. Like I jumped on with you a couple years ago, but it's the assumption that, like, what is with the cover 2? They run so much cover 2, and I double checked to make sure they are top 4 in the league and running cover 2. And they're giving up, as Ian said, the worst EPA, the 3rd worst pass EPA, or 4th, depending on where you're looking at it. And I just don't understand, like, why it works to start the year. And then, like, why can't they figure it out to start the year? It's the same defense every year.
Maybe new personnel, different looks, that kind of thing. And all of a sudden people get used to it.
Or just beat cover 2, which nobody uses anymore except for like 4 teams. Like, it's so easily beatable at this point in the NFL.
They blitz so much. Like if you look at the percentages, the Vikings are like 10, 15% more in next team. So that would maybe be the thing where, like, early on in the year, you are able to run some more creative coverages.
Yeah, even
it up and
since week 7,
28%.
28%. Next closest is the Cowboys at 21.8.
Cowboys defense, since those trades and Overshown coming back in, have been a good front 7.
They got Donovan Wilson back too. He's kind of more like a run stuffing safety. So they get Trayvon Diggs back as well. I don't know if it's going to matter. Like, that's the big issue with this whole thing. The 2 guys the Cowboys did decide to pay, Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs, like, they were awesome that 1 year in Dan Quinn's scheme when they were just trying to jump every single route. They had Michael Parsons getting pressure, and it worked out when they were playing bad teams. But just, tying up freaking $180 million with 2 cornerbacks who you can't reliably expect to actually guard number 1 wide receivers, man, that is the Cowboys' real roster hole right now.
I will throw out, even in the year, it was last year that Bland had all the interceptions, he still wasn't good. He just had a bunch of interceptions. Like, every team actively picked on him because he would try to ball hawk everything. If he wasn't scoring a pick 6, he was getting burned for 6.
He's like if you play Madden or NCAA and choose to, like, use her the cornerback. Like, that's how Deron Bland plays in real life.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, that'll do it for us. We'll be back next week with the rankings. Ian, what you got going on this week?
The Fantasy Life Show. You can catch it on YouTube, Apple, wherever you happen to consume your media. Otherwise, I got my rankings column over at fantasylife.com. Always do my 10 things article as well, where I try to touch on 10 cool things to help get you guys through the week. So one more before the playoffs, guys. Appreciate you checking us out.
And Jake, you dropped an all-in speed run on my feed last week. You'll have another all-in speed run coming out. Well, you have 3 a week on your feed, but your Monday show will double on the Pat Mayo Experience audio feed next week as well.
Yes, and I appreciate that. You find it everywhere, Apple, Spotify, the YouTube one, even at this point. It's everywhere you can find it. And if you're pooping, you have enough time to listen to the Monday and the Friday episodes.
Yeah, the Monday one's like 15 minutes?
Not even.
Everything you need
Anywhere
to know.
between 8 to 12.
I like those. I tried to do those, but I talk too much. And they just never last. I can't get them under.
You should kick up the tempo for yours, Pat. You can do that.
And I try to kick up the tempo, but then my voice just sounds ludicrous. And I know that people listen at 2x and 1.5 speed. I hate those people, by the way. If you're one of those people, stop that. Not how the show is. This is not how the show is supposed to be produced.
Yeah, but you kick up the tempo, your voice sounds the same, not the speed. So they're two different things. If you kick up the speed, your voice changes. If you kick up the tempo, unless you really kick it up, your voice actually stays the same.
Yeah, can't do it. Just listen to me in my normal voice. It's fine. Anyway, my
ranks out midnight.
Ranks out midnight at theathletic.com for Jake, up at fantasylife.com already for Ian. That's all down in the description. And the free Mayo Media newsletter will be sent to you with rankings at like 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. It'll be up on 444.com completely free as well. Thank you all for watching. Smash the like on the way out. See you next time.
Experience!